So, what is going on, guys? Today we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Legacy Wreck and Rule Collection Voyager Class Springer. And Voyager Class Springer is just a repaint of the Siege Springer, but in G1 toy colors instead of the cartoon accurate colors. And as far as this goes, yeah, I like this toy a lot. I'm going to show off the box because it is a bit unique since it's an Amazon exclusive box. So there's the box art. Looks really nice. There he be on the back and everything like that. Nice art on the side. Looks quite nice. There's the Decepticon side as well. Other than that, there's our boy back in frame. And let's kind of just get into this. So as far as he goes, he's just nice. Now, to get out of the way, I did break him. Kind of. Very minor and slight. Also a bit of a stretch mark on this peg, but that doesn't matter anymore. So, the peg on his leg, when in transforming him, broke off. It's right there. You can see the stretch mark of where it broke off. It was one of those stupid pegs that was like the kind of clip-around one, and I couldn't get it undone. So I kind of pulled on it, because I'm an idiot, and it cracked off. But luckily, it's not a major important peg in the long run. It's actually in the box. Ironic, I just threw it in there. I don't really care for the peg that broke off. It's fine. I don't care enough. It's just a little tiny peg that doesn't do much. As far as the figure goes, I actually kind of grew to like the toy colors. And in this light, you can actually see the different color green. On the photos on Amazon, I was like, he looks a little too much lime green and gray, but that darker green in person actually looks really nice, and you can notice it. And I came around on liking it. You're really like, well, why would you order a figure you didn't know you're going to like? I just wanted Springer, if you want the truth. And I like this. Now, one thing I like about this figure, it has the Wreckers logo. That's kind of the gimmick for the Wreck and Rule line as a whole is, yeah, that's the Wreckers. So they just kind of threw the Wreckers logo on there, and it's really nice. As far as accessories, this guy comes with five whole accessories. First off, we have his two blasters. So there's this one here, which looks kind of nice. And then this one here that looks like a pencil. They can combine together to form Long Blaster, which is how it's packaged. But I like them severed. And, of course, you can store them on the back. On his very loose, floppy backpack, because it doesn't peg in. At least mine can't, or at least I didn't figure out how to. I mean, I am reviewing them like hours after I got them, so whoop-de-dee-da-do. But hey, at least I found the weapon storage for the swords, because they do have storage. Speaking of, he comes with 2 swords. For the helicopter blades, the camera's obscenely crooked. It's obscenely crooked. There we go. So he comes with 2 swords. They both look the exact same. They look like this. They have the little port there, which pegs onto the back. Of course, he can wield both of them at the same time. And the other thing on his back is the rotor blade, but it's a severed thing. So if you don't like it, you can unpeg it. Me, personally, it's just going to get left there. There's nowhere else for it to go. It just kind of is a thing that you kind of have to learn to live with this guy, because, yeah, it's just going to be there. And as far as this weapon storage for the swords go, there's 2 tabs, 1 on each side right there, and the slot in the hilt of the blade. You just kind of peg them on there, and it's good. He has enough storage to actually have all of his weapons stowed, which is really nice. Now, another issue I have with this guy is how loose Mine's feet are. They are absurdly loose, and he cannot stand half the time. It is really bad. Other than that, let's get into the head sculpt here before we get into the articulation and transformation. Looks really nice. That is Springer. It's really nice. There's a green face. It's a bit more of a brighter green. It's kind of like a powder green, I guess. Kind of like powder blue, but green. That's how I'm going to put it. Powder green. As far as the articulation goes, he has a ball joint in the head. Forward and back, the shoulder, outward, an elbow, a swivel, hand rotation, waist swivel. He has that awesome kick where the crotch is actually built like that. Outward, a knee. You can get a double knee if you wanted to. Actually, you don't need a double knee. Tilt forward and back at the foot, along with tilt to the side. So he's an articulate boy, and he's quite a nice-looking articulate fella. So let's just get into the transformation. We're going to do car mode. So to do car mode, first thing you're going to do is come to the accessory. And, yeah, you're just going to rip them off the back. all off to the side because they are not necessary for this form. So, for the car mode, first thing that I like to do is come to the shoulders and fold out that bit, and then fold that down, and then it pegs into the hand. Just to show it, there's a peg right there. You then flip the shoulder back, and it pegs into the hand, and that'll form the little side parts and front fenders. For the bottom of the leg here, flip it open, and flip out these little tiny fins. They're in there. You gotta flip them out. They're not that hard to get out. There's nothing really wrong with them. Now I get to the fun part of the transformation. Open the chest and then do that. And suddenly he looks like a pile of spaghetti. And yeah, pile of spaghetti man here isn't that complicated. I thought he'd be more complicated, but he's not. He's not a complicated guy. I thought he was going to be like way more complicated once I got into him. No, he actually ended up being more simple than I thought, other than me thinking I broke him for like 5 minutes because I forgot how to transform him. I was like, damn, I broke him already, and then I actually broke him. But I didn't break him that bad. Like I said, that peg is not that, it's not a major breakage. It's not like, oh, I need to return the figure breakage, because while it is broken, it's not crazy. So you're going to take this, and it's going to fold back, and it's going to fold back and do a click. A really nice click. If you don't do that click, nothing is going to line up right. I am just going to warn you right now that needs to do that. Fold the legs forward, and they will just kind of combine together using that one peg that remains. That has a stress mark on it as well. And do that. You're then going to take the back of the figure and fold it down onto the legs, and it kind of pegs in, but not really. It's supposed to peg in a lot better, but it just doesn't. It refuses. It doesn't do it. As far as the arms go, they're a bit fun. So there's some pegs on the side here. This little black peg here. You've got to get that lined up correctly. If it does not line up correctly, the figure will not transform correctly. You also have this green sections here, which I remember Prime vs. Prime going and saying these are super loose, because his is a QC issue figure that's sold out the door on the black market, and this is an actual one that's not. And yeah, those things are so unbelievably tight. They don't come out. They don't come out. On his, they were falling out like that. And I was actually kind of worried, oh, it's going to be like that. I don't know why I took his word for it. Because whenever he complains about looseness and stuff like that, I don't take that. If you do take that, I'm sorry. Don't do that. This isn't a critique against him doing that, because I don't mind seeing all these figures in hand early, but there is the figure in his alt mode. And it looks nice. It is G1 Springer, to say the least. You can peg his weapons on a variety of spots. I like to do this with the guns. I like to peg them together and then take that, plug it on, and then plug it on the middle point. And he just has this wicked turret. And you can take the blades and point them forward. So he looks pretty good. I mean, I actually really like the look of the alt mode. All of the gray looks really nice. And it rolls nicely. And underneath, he just, like, scrunches a lot. And by a lot, I mean not really. Look at that. His head just gets put in his chest. That's it. That's the only thing that happens. Everything else is, like, in the same spot. He barely transforms looking at it, but boy, is that wrong, because he definitely transforms. I mean, as far as the car mode goes, it does look great. And anyway, time to do something for the helicopter once we are done here. Just combine these together, just for later. I mean, it looks nice. I like the little fins. They're a nice little detail. I still love that the chest of Springer ends up exactly where you expect it to be, which is right there. Paint bubbles on it, but that's fine. Also, this part here, translucent blue plastic, and I thought I cracked it. I did not crack it. It is fine. We are good, but it's translucent blue plastic. Keep that in mind. And here goes the loose legs, kind of, because it's my own doing. They're not that loose, though. As you can see, it does hold together, kind of. It's a bit loose now, but that's fine. If you can get these to peg together correctly, which in this case I don't, I still haven't figured out a good method to get it to do it correctly, you can get it to sit flush. But otherwise, it doesn't really affect it because it doesn't actually move unless I move it. Like, it's not going to flop or anything. So yeah, that's his car mode, which looks nice. So let's get to the helicopter form. So to get to the helicopter form, it really just involves the lags mostly. So you're going to undo the lag transformation here, and you're going to flip them like this. Also going to undo the arms, but keep them forward. Just keep everything out of the way, because for the helicopter, it's mostly done via the lags. Rotate. Now, this is something I have to stress with this thing to transform it correctly. Push that forward and rotate it at the thigh, not at the hinge at the waist, or the hip joint. Do not do it at the hip joint. Do it at the thigh, and it will transform correctly. It is really specific, but there's a lot of ways you can do it. And the instructions are not very clear on this, because the instructions suck, because they always suck. Fold out the wheels, like so, and that'll extend the entire tail. Which, yeah, you kind of seen it coming. You knew how this was going to go. You knew it was going to do that. I think everybody and their mom knew it was going to do that for a transformation. For a G1 Springer toy. They're then going to take the arms, and then they have to do a little bit of untransforming. Come to the arm, unfold it, and then fold out the green bit, like so. And then peg that in. Do the same on the other side, so do that. And then you gotta put the arms in again. But now you have to line them up with another peg that at first seems really difficult, but then you learn isn't that difficult. It really isn't. You just kind of have to get the arms in a very specific way. And then for the back section, if you have it all correctly put in, it shouldn't pop out, because on mine it was popping out like it was spring-loaded. In this case, since it's transformed correctly, it doesn't do that. And then you can do that. And there is the helicopter form, which still has wheels and can roll. The only thing this really does to change it is just that big long tail. And that's all it does. And I mean, looking at it on the other side, it's once again the same thing. It's the same thing, but the legs are like super extended. That's it. Springer, man. You look like you barely transform, but boy do you ever. And it's kind of no wonder that this is the only triple changer that's not a leader. What? Yes, Astro Train and Blitzwing are leaders. This is a Voyager class. Just keep that in mind. He's a Voyager. And I mean, I think he has good accessories too. He doesn't just come with a bunch of random stuff. He has good accessories. I mean, the helicopter looks nice, and I like it, but it's just Springer's blocky helicopter mode that's clearly a car, but with a tail on it now. So as far as my thoughts on the figure, let's just get to it. This figure is pretty solid. Is it the greatest thing ever? No. Am I mad that I missed the original? Not really. I own this one now, and this one's perfectly well and good. And if you missed the original Siege one like I did, and you want it, it's still a fairly good figure. This figure, it met my expectations. It didn't pass them by any means. The transformation is something. Like, it doesn't look like it does anything, but it does. Also, that is really turned, and that might explain why that didn't look like it was going to peg in right. Because, boy, is that a bit annoying to do. It doesn't meet... It met the expectation I had for it, but it doesn't surpass it. Which is perfectly well and good. I am perfectly fine with this thing completely meeting my expectations that I had. I wasn't expecting this thing to come out of here and be like, this is the greatest toy of all time. Because it's not. It's not the greatest, and if you missed it at the time, and it was a weird one, because it kind of came out in between waves. Like, it wasn't wave 3 for me. Like, it showed up. It was supposed to be wave 3, I think, and then it just kind of showed up with none of the other figures in tow, And he showed up at one Walmart for like 2 weeks, and I could have bought him, and I didn't, and I was like, oh no. Also, fun part, this is where I got stuck. I had him in Hobbit mode. You gotta take this and pull it. Pull on the gray bits. Don't get stuck like I did. And think you broke it when you don't. It's just kind of stuck. As far as the back section goes, oh, yep, that happens a lot. The waist is really shallow. I should probably have mentioned that earlier. Now he's kind of in half. There we go. But the figure itself it's just a really good figure. It's not going to blow anyone's socks off, especially the color scheme. I do like the regular cartoon Springer color scheme a bit more than the toy. I'm not one of those people who likes the toy colors. There's this toy-colored Cyclonus hanging around. I've seen people actually giving up their Kingdom Cyclonus for that one, and I was like, why? I think the thing's hideous myself. I'm not a big toy color guy, but in Springer's case, it's fine, because his colors aren't egregious or bright. They're just the exact same thing, but minus a lot of yellow. If anything, this one's a lot more dull than the original version, because it's primarily gray and green, and there's only that one brief spot of yellow on the figure, which is the chest piece. And I mean, as far as he goes, he's good. What am I going to give him? I'm going to give the Springer here I'm going to give him a 4. He does do enough. He looks like Springer. He looks good. He has good articulation. He has 5 accessories, which is awesome. And for a kind of exclusive Amazon repaint guy, perfectly well and good. Who cares? He's a repaint on Amazon. Who cares? If you missed the original Springer, go ahead, get him. But if you didn't, and you don't want him, don't get him. You know, he's perfectly good. You can skip him, but I think he's really good. Even though I broke him. I broke him. He didn't break himself. I broke him. My fault. Other than that, this has been Eilt Elite signing out.